Alright, this video is the next training video on how to install the all-line additive injector. This one is about actually wiring the controller. This is the inside of the controller. We've removed it from the box so that I can show you this. We're going to be guided by the wiring diagram that ships with the unit. This is an example, a typical truck-mounted additive injector. It shows in pretty simple way. These are the blocks inside the controller and where the wires go. So we're just going to take it one at a time, talk about what they're for, and just show you hooking it up. So the first thing we need is a good DC ground, truck chassis DC ground. We got to have a good ground for this to work properly. So that's just a big black wire. You can really use any color wire you wish, but black is a good choice for that. So I've got a black ground wire here. You just stick the wire in the hole there. It should be. Stick your screwdriver in, tighten her down. Good and tight. Tug on it, make sure you got a good connection. Now, about DC ground, there's a few things on here that use DC ground, and when I do installations, I hate it when I have to stick a bunch of wires into the same hole and get them all, to fit and not one slip out. So you'll see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different places where DC ground appears here. So anything that needs ground, usually you only need to get one wire in each hole. Just trying to make it easier. Alright, so we got our ground. The next thing we need is there's a cable, a shielded twisted pair cable that goes between the LCR2 system and our controller. And what that's going to do, we're going to sap the 12 volt power from the LCR2 to our controller. We don't pull much power, maybe an amp. But that's going to let us turn on and off with the LCR2. Anytime the LCR2 turns on, that's when we want to be on. So that makes that easy. To that end, there's also a little ground wire and the pulse output from the LCR2 that tells us you're pumping and how much you're pumping. That comes in and goes in as main pulse on 5. So I'm going to do this connection. It's a shielded twisted pair. I've got a piece of that here. We ship you some of this wire, so you should have some. This is a pretty short piece generally. Usually the controller and the LCR2 are right next to each other. So when you strip it, you come up with a bare, a red, and a black, just like it shows on the drawing. And on the drawing it shows the red wire is the 12 volts. So I'm going to strip that and the black. So the red wire, it shows going to the 2 amp fuse, which is connected on 2. This is the 2 amp fuse holder going into 2. I took them off already, but there's ships with a yellow wire nut on there, so just wire nut that connection. Alright, the next part of that shielded twisted pair is the bare wire into DC ground on 4. So this bare wire going into 4. Okay. And the next wire is 5, the black wire, main pulse. I'll just mention that when everything's on now, that main pulse, and the LCR2 is giving us pulses. There are pulsar lights here, and it's pulsar light 1 will blink every time we get a pulse from the LCR2. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is the pump output. You can see the pump goes out through a 10 amp fuse to the pump. So this is the control circuit for the pump, but we only control the ground side. The 12 volt side, the heavy power, can go straight to a different power source that's constantly on. It can be on and off with the truck, it doesn't matter, but the pump's not going to run until we provide it the ground side. So we just need a wire from this 10 amp fuse holder to the pump. Now I don't have a pump module, but let's say this yellow wire is the ground for that pump. We're just going to tie it in. And there, now the pump's hooked up. Alright, now we need a wire from the meter in the pump module. This whole rectangle is the pump module. I don't have that here. There will be another video. The next video will be about this end of it. But from the meter, there's another shielded twisted pair, goes to 6 and 7. Now that's a little bit different in that on this shielded twisted pair we used each of the 3 wires to a different block. On this one it's very important that the black and bare wires both go to ground and the red wire goes to 7. So I'm going to use my other gray wire for that. Let's assume the other end is already connected in the pump module. So again, this is the additive meter wires. I'm going to take the bare wire and the black wire and I'm going to twist them together, and the red wire will stay on its own. So the bare and the black are going to go in on 6. 6 is just another one of those DC grounds. And then the red wire is going to go in on 7. That is the actual pulse from the additive meter. Now just like the main pulse, remember the main pulse had a blinking light up here. Anytime it would get a pulse in, number 1 would blink. Well, the additive pulse is generally going to be light number 2. So when your system is in use, you should see number 2 blink. Good solid connection, so that's done. So let's see, we've got our chassis ground, we've got the LCR2 connection done, we've got the pump done, we've got the additive meter done. The only remaining part is the float switch. Now, it really can be a float switch or a tank gauge. They will both hook in the same place. Float switch will simply give us an open or close. The tank gauge will give us a continuous reading of the tank level. Either way, it hooks in the same. We're going to use the white wire for that one so we don't get them mixed up. And again, I'm going to assume that the other end of this white wire is already connected to a tank gauge. Now, unlike the others, the other shielded twisted pair wires, I don't need the bare wire at all on this one. So I'm just going to cut that off. So that's cut off. I just have the red and the black. Strip those. And also on this one, I don't care about which one's positive or which one's negative. I just need one to go in 11 and one to go into 12. There's 11. There's 12. So we now have everything hooked up. everything that's laid out in the wiring diagram is now hooked up as far as the controller. The next video I'll do is showing you the other end of this, the pump module wiring. So that's the end of this video. I hope it's been informative, and I'll see you on the next one.